Hello everyone. The first unit of class 11 is diversity of living organisms. This is the first lecture and we will start with the chapter 1, that is the living world. The first topic that we get is what is living. But before starting the topic, we have to know one word. Since class 10 we find the subject name science, but in class 11 we find the subject name biology. Now what is the meaning of biology? If we split the word biology into bio and logy, then we can easily understand the meaning of the word. The meaning of bio is life or living. For example, human beings, animals, plants, microbes, etc. And the meaning of logy is study. So, the overall meaning of biology is study of life or study of living organism. So, it is so simple. We know that every subject has its own father. So, who is the father of biology? The father of biology is Aristotle. Now, there are two main branches of biology. What are those? The first one is zoology and the second one is botany. The two branches are zoology and botany. Now, what is zoology? As we know, biology is the study of living organism. So, zoology is also the study of living organism, but particularly about the animals. So, zoology is same here also. If we split the word zoology, then we get zoo and logy, means the study of animals. And in case of botany, we cannot split the word, but it is the study of plants. Now we know that the father of biology is Aristotle, who was a philosopher. Same here in case of zoology also, the father of zoology is Aristotle. But we have to remember that the father of botany is not Aristotle. The father of botany is Theophrastus. Now, as we know, the first topic is what is living. Let us start the topic. We know what is living. Living means who? The animals or plants or organism which has life. Now, what it is written here? Growth is usually defined by the increase in mass and number of individuals. Now, how can we identify a living organism and non-living organism? Like if you take the example of human and a devil, we can say that we grow in height, in mass, but they do not grow. Primarily, we can discriminate both the objects like this. Now, let us know what is growth. Growth is usually defined by the increase in mass and number of individual organisms. What is it? Growth is defined by the increase in mass, means increase in weight and the number of individual organisms. Like due to reproduction, the human being population increases. Then what it is written here? Humans visibly grow up to a certain age. Means children grow at a certain age, but the older peoples do not grow in height. But the cells keep on dividing. But they are not growing by their height. Means their height is not growing, but internally their cells are dividing. Like if we take the example of nails and hair, they are growing. Like if we get any cut, then we can see after some days the cut is healing means the cells are dividing and the affected cells are replaced by the new cells. And thus new cells in the body keep on replacing the old ones. Means as we said, if we get any cut, the affected cells and the old cells are replaced by the new cells by cell division, which is internal, which we cannot see externally. The next point is some of the non-living things also seems to grow in size due to accumulation of particles. Now what is written here? Before we said that we can primarily distinguish between a living and non-living organism by observing their growth, but here it is written one exception that we are getting here, that non-living things also seems to grow in size. But how? The non-living cells also seems to grow in size due to accumulation of particles. Means it is externally, they are not growing internally. They are accumulating some particles above them, so it is looking like it seems like that they are growing. For example, the growth of a mountain. If we see a mountain, then if we compare them during cold season and during summer season, in case of like cold region mountains, we can see in cold region there is a cover of ice above the mountain, which is increasing the height of the mountain, and it seems like it is growing in height, but it is growing externally by accumulating particles, not by internally how the living individuals are growing internally by cell division. So it is the exception. So here is a problem. We cannot distinguish between living and non-living organism by looking only at their growth. Living beings grow from inside due to cell division. Thus, growth is not a defining character. Already we have discussed that living beings grow from inside due to cell division. And the important line is growth is not a defining character. Means growth is a character of living organism, but growth is not a defining character. Now what is the difference? Means we cannot say that this object or organism is growing, that's why it is living organism. We have to have some other characteristics on this. We have to have some other characteristics in this organism by which we can say that it is living or non-living. Only growth is not a defining character. Now, as we said that growth is not a defining character, means only growth is not a defining character for living organism. We cannot say that the living organism is characterized only by growth. Then we have to know what are the other characteristics of living organism by which we can identify the living organism and can say that it is a living organism and it is not a non-living organism. The first one is growth. Here the exception is mountains, which also grow by accumulating particles over it, but it is a non-living object. The second characteristic is reproduction. What is reproduction? Producing similar organism. We all know that living organisms reproduce and produce new organisms, like in case of human beings, the child and the parent. Now, is there any exception that we get in case of reproduction also? Yes. What are the exceptions? The exceptions are infertile animals. The animals which are infertile, they cannot produce new organisms of their own. But they are living organisms. We cannot say that they are not reproducing, so they are non-living organism. The second exception is division of cloud. Clouds are non-living organism, but we can see division of clouds in the sky. But we cannot say that the clouds are dividing and producing a new cloud from their own, so they are living organism. Now the third characteristic is ability to sense environment. Like in case of human being, if we touch any hot utensil, then we can sense the heat and we remove our hand from that object. Is there any exception? Yes. What is the exception in case of ability to sense environment? The exception is detector can also sense. If you go to an airport, you can see that the staffs are checking the passengers with a detector which can sense if there is any unwanted objects with the passenger. So the detector, which is a non-living object, can also sense the environment. The environment here is the passengers. Now the fourth characteristic is metabolism. Metabolism means like we eat foods, then the food we get energy from the food. That is metabolism if we say in simple language. The fifth characteristic is cellular organization. The organization of cells. We will talk about this in our later parts. The sixth characteristic is consciousness. This is also similar like ability to sense. Now what is the exception? Some electronic gadgets are also conscious. So these are the characteristics, but alone they are not defining characters of living organism. But if we put them together and we find most of them in an organism or object, then we can say that that is a living organism.